Very good morning and welcome to the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha Television. My name is Aishwarya Kapoor. Well, violence in Saharanpur is our top focus this morning. UP government has said that the violence was a well-planned conspiracy. We'll get you all the details on that big story and much more in this bulletin, starting with the headlines. Saharanpur violence, a well-planned conspiracy, says UP government to send a sense of 400 anti-riot police personnel. Home Ministry seeks report from Yogi government. Army Chief meets a Defence Minister, briefs him about situation in Jammu and Kashmir. Northern Command Chief visits units, reviews security. Prime Minister in Assam as NDA government completes 3 years in power today to inaugurate the longest bridge in the country linking state and Arunachal Pradesh. Opposition leaders to meet at a lunch hosted by Congress President Sonia Gandhi. Discussion on possible joint presidential candidate expected. And Theresa May conveys anger over media leaks of a probe into Manchester attack to Donald Trump. US President orders probe, says the development deeply troubling. Our top story this morning, the UP government has termed the recent caste-based violence in Saharanpur as a well-planned conspiracy. Now, Principal Home Secretary Mani Prasad Mishra said this while addressing the media. He assured that those responsible would not be spared. He said that there have been incidents of violence in the district over the past few years, but they have not gained the proportion of the current wave of violence. He said that he had met a number of people and tried to get a sense of the ground situation as well. He added that the situation is likely to normalize in the next 24 hours.
मैं इन घटनाओं को बहुत विस्तार से यहां नहीं रखना चाहूंगा, लेकिन घटनाएं दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण रही हैं और ऐसा प्रतीत होने लगा है कि यहां के दो वर्ग में, समुदाय में कोई फर्क है। लेकिन जैसा कि हमारे कुछ माननीय वक्ताओं ने कहा, निश्चित रूप से उनमें कोई फर्क नहीं है। उनके बीच में जो समरसता, जो सामंजस्य, जो सद्भाव था, आज भी है। और अगर कुछ हुआ है तो उसके पीछे ऐसे तत्व रहे हैं जो बाहरी तत्व हैं और जिनका कोई न कोई निहित स्वार्थ रहा है।
Meanwhile, the centre has sent 400 anti-riot police personnel to Saharanpur to maintain law and order situation in the region where caste clashes happened on Tuesday. The Home Ministry has also asked the Yogi Adityanath government to submit a report on the incident. The Section 144 of the CRPC was imposed in the district to maintain peace, while internet and mobile services were also suspended to prevent the spread of rumours.
Even as the Yogi Adityanath government is in a firefighting mode to bring normalcy in the violence in Saharanpur, the centre on Thursday sought a report from the state government on the continuing violence in the district. The Home Ministry also asked for details on steps taken to restore peace. The violence has claimed 2 lives while several others were injured. Mobile and internet services were also suspended to maintain peace and ensure law and order.
इसमें जो दोषी लोग हैं या जिनसे संभावना है ब्रीच ऑफ पीस की, उनको पाबंद किया गया है, कार्रवाई की गई है और अभी और कार्रवाई की आवश्यकता है। सेंसिटिव एरिया आइडेंटिफाई करके उनको जोन्स में बांटा गया है। उसमें गस्टेड ऑफिसर्स पुलिस की और मजिस्ट्रेट्स लगे हुए हैं, वो भ्रमण कर रहे हैं, स्थिति असेस कर रहे हैं, उसके हिसाब से कार्रवाई भी कर रहे हैं।
Meanwhile, the fresh violence in Saharanpur sparked a political slugfest with both the BJP government and the BSP blaming each other.
जो मायावती जी आज वहाँ सहानुभूति जताने गई हैं, उन्हीं के कुछ लोगों की बोए हुए नफरत के जो बीज हैं, उसी का दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण परिणाम है।
यदि इस संगठन से बीएसपी के कुछ भी संबंध थे, तो इस बात का खुलासा इन्होंने मेरे सहारनपुर जिले में जाने से पहले मीडिया आदि में क्यों नहीं किया था, और अब वहां मेरे जाने के बाद इस तरह की ये बातें मीडिया में क्यों प्रचारित कराई जा रही हैं, तो इससे ये स्पष्ट जाहिर हो जाता है कि उत्तर प्रदेश सरकार के खुफिया विभाग की ये रिपोर्ट पूरी तरह से राजनीतिक द्वेष से प्रेरित है, झूठी है व सरासर गलत है।
Other opposition parties also accused the BJP of inciting communal tensions in Saharanpur.
जिस प्रकार से दलितों का दमन किया जा रहा है सहारनपुर में, वो दिल दहलाने वाला है। आजाद हिंदुस्तान में कभी इस प्रकार की दुर्घटना जो सहारनपुर में दलित भाइयों के साथ हुई, कभी ऐसी नहीं हुई, और ये सब सरकार के संरक्षण और उनकी मर्जी से हुआ।
भय का माहौल उत्तर प्रदेश में समा गया है। महिलाओं की कोई सुरक्षा नहीं है। इतना बड़ा जनादेश लेकर जनता के प्रति इतनी बड़ी गैर जिम्मेदारी और केवल बयान, कोई एक्शन नहीं, तो जनता जवाब जरूर मांगेगी इस पर।
That Rohit Memula has happened during this regime. Why it is that Pahlu Khan happens in this regime? Why it is that Saharanpur happens in this regime?
The state government has not been acting against those who commit such atrocities against Dalits. And after all, Mr. Yogi has taken oath in the name of Constitution.
Earlier, the Saharanpur DM and SSP were suspended after they were unable to control the clashes between two communities in the area. The Divisional Commissioner and the DIG have been transferred out. Clashes occurred on Tuesday after BSP Supremo Mayawati's visit to Saharanpur. The state government also announced a compensation of 15 lakh rupees to the relatives of the people who were killed. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
News from Jammu and Kashmir. Army Chief General Bipin Rawat met Defence Minister Arun Jaitley on Thursday and briefed him about the situation in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. The meeting came a day after Jaitley said that army officers were free to take decisions in a war-like zone. The governments appear to justify Major Litu Gogoi's action of tying a man to a jeep in Kashmir as a human shield to deter stone-pelting protesters. The army's decision to honour Gogoi, which according to it was for his sustained efforts in counter-insurgency operations, has come in from criticism from various quarters. The meeting also came after the Indian Army said that it launched a punitive fire assaults on Pakistani positions across the line of control. It had on Tuesday also released a video of the military action which showed some structures in a forested area crumbling in a heap under the impact of repeated shelling by the Indian Army. In a related development, the Army's Northern Command Chief visited the formations and units in north and south of Kashmir and received and also reviewed the prevailing security situation. He interacted with the troops and emphasized on the need for undertaking relentless intelligence-based operations. Now, the BJP-led NDA government completes 3 years in power today. On the occasion, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be in Assam. He will address the nation from Guwahati in the evening. The day is also important for the state as the BJP-led government completes 1 year in Assam. The Prime Minister will inaugurate a number of projects, including the country's longest bridge. The Prime Minister described the Dhula-Sadia Bridge over the Lohiti River, which is a tributary of Brahmaputra, as one of the most important infrastructure projects in the country. The 9.15 kilometers long bridge will reduce the travel time between Assam and Arunachal Pradesh from 6 hours to just 1 hour. Now, apart from this, he will also lay the foundation stone of the proposed Indian Agricultural Research Institute and the All India Institute of Medical Sciences. Now, Chief Ministers, MPs and MLAs of the BJP-ruled Northeast states will be present on the occasion.
असम के लिए एक ऐतिहासिक दिन होंगी क्योंकि हमारे देश की माननीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ढोला जो सदिया पुल का उद्घाटन करेंगे और हमें ये मानना है कि इस पुल के जरिए सिर्फ असम का ही नहीं उत्तर पूर्व राज्यों की विकास के सिलसिले में बहुत बड़ा एक योगदान होंगे। तो इसलिए लोग काफी उम्मीद से ऐतिहासिक क्षण का एक वो भी मतलब इस विषय पर शामिल होने के लिए बहुत लोग उम्मीद से इंतजार में हैं।
In fact, tomorrow he will address 4 rally in Guwahati, which will be culminated in the mega rally in Guwahati in the afternoon. So we have made all the arrangement and we are optimistic and we are confident, then large gathering will come to the field, and there will be a lot of euphoria. There is a lot of euphoria, and euphoria will only multiply.
On to some other news. President Pranab Mukherjee, while delivering the Ramnath Goenka lecture in the national capital on Thursday, emphasized on various facets of democracy. Now, President Mukherjee said that discussion and in public debate are important in a democracy, and that there should always be room for the argumentative Indian and not intolerant Indian. He said that India's civilization believes in pluralism, social, cultural and linguistic diversity. Mukherjee said that complex issues are being reduced to binary opposites, resulting in a polarization. Now, highlighting the role of media in a democracy, the president said that a democracy without a free press is like a blank piece of paper. Meanwhile, a meeting of opposition leaders to discuss the presidential polls is slated to take place today. Now, Congress President Sonia Gandhi has invited the leaders of the opposition for a lunch at her residence. Now, from the Congress Party, Vice President Rahul Gandhi and former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh will also be present. Now, JDU leader and Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar will not attend the meeting. Instead, Sharad Yadav would be present, and he would be representing his party. Now, RJD is being represented by Lalu Yadav. Left leaders Sitaram Yechuri and D. Raja also expected to attend. West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee is also likely to be present. Now, the term of the current president, Pranab Mukherjee, ends in July, and the ruling BJP-led NDA front is yet to name its candidate for the country's top post.
मजबूती के साथ महागठबंधन के तरफ से मतलब समझिए नीतीश तरफ से शरद यादव जी जाएंगे, शरीफ हो गए, और नीतीश जी से सोनिया गांधी जी का बात हो गया, कल भी बात हो गया, और उन्होंने कहा कि शरद यादव जा रहे हैं, हम जा रहे हैं, और लोग हमारे नेता और भी पार्टी के नेता लोग वहाँ मुलाकात होंगे.
Now, a fresh motion seeking impeachment of Justice Nagarjuna Reddy of the High Court of Andhra Pradesh in Telangana has been moved by at least 54 members of the Rajya Sabha, cutting across party lines. The MPs claim that there is enough prima facie material to start the inquiry. Justice Reddy has been accused of interfering in the judicial process in several cases and hurling casteist abuses against a junior Dalit judge. He is also accused of possessing wealth disproportionate to his known sources. He has sought the Chief Justice of India, J.S. Khehar's advice as well on this notice. And now an update on the EVM hackathon, and the deadline for registering to apply to participate in the Election Commission's EVM hack challenge ends today. However, there have been none received by the Commission so far. The poll body had last Saturday announced that the challenge to hack and tamper with the electronic voting machines would take place on 3rd of June, and the 7 national and 49 state parties can apply by 26th of May 5 p.m. to participate in the challenge. However, according to the Commission sources, none of the political parties have applied so far. After the Uttar Pradesh Assembly polls, the BSP and the Aam Aadmi Party had questioned the reliability of the machines. Several opposition parties have also urged the Election Commission to revert to paper ballot, saying that faith of the people in EVMs has eroded. Meanwhile, a demand of the AAP of allowing the change or tampering of the motherboard of EVMs during the challenge was rejected by the Commission. In Breakfast News, time for a very short break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
The sacred relics of Buddha were unearthed in Piprava in Uttar Pradesh. Buddhist monks from all over the world visit the National Museum to pay their respects. These charred bone fragments of Buddha are housed in the gold canopy gifted by the royal family of Thailand.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, a rumor on social media about a school bus with the 40 students falling into a gorge in Poonch district of Jammu and Kashmir on Thursday triggered anxiety. Massive searches were conducted before the news turned out to be false. Now, taking a serious note of the planned mischief, the state government has ordered a magisterial probe and registration of a case into the spread of the rumor. The rumor about the bus falling into a gorge emanating during the day, after which the district administration, the army, the air force and several other agencies were ordered to initiate a rescue and evacuation. However, after a massive search for the purported accident site, it turned out to be a false alarm. The rumor spread on social media groups and the media led to high alert in the twin border districts of Poonch and Rajouri. Assistance from the cyber wing of the police department has also been sought. Now, the government is contemplating a slapping of the Public Safety Act against the culprits. Police have also lodged an FIR into the matter. And now an update on the missing Sukhoi fighter jet. Still, there is no trace of the fighter jet even as the search operations continued for the third consecutive day on Thursday. Now, the Indian Air Force Sukhoi 30 fighter jet went missing with 2 pilots on Tuesday after taking off from Tezpur in Assam for a routine training. The search operation will continue till the plane is located. Now, besides the aerial assets, more personnel are being deployed for the existing ground parties of the Indian Air Force personnel. 9 teams of the Indian Army as well as 2 teams of the state administration have also been put into service. Meanwhile, the Chinese military said that it was paying close attention to the incident. The comments come in contrast to the Chinese Foreign Ministry's earlier statement, which had denied the knowledge of the missing plane. Now, after a verdict in a court in Islamabad, the Indian citizen Uzma was brought back to. External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj accepted that the role of Pakistan government and judiciary was commendable in this case. While she thanked the neighbouring country for that, Uzma felt proud of being Indian and she thanked the Ministry of External Affairs.
An emotional Uzma touching Indian soil after crossing the Wagah border. Pakistani officials on Thursday handed her over to the BSF at the border. Accompanied by Indian Deputy High Commissioner JP Singh, Uzma reached Delhi by flight from Amritsar. After meeting External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj, she narrated her tale to the media.
जो मुझ पर हुआ, जो मेरे साथ हुआ, वो किसी और के साथ कभी ना हो, क्योंकि शायद मैं लकी थी या मेरी बेटी का नसीब बोलो कि उसको एक माँ दोबारा फिर से मिल गई, उसके नसीब से शायद मैं बचकर आ गई। जब मैं वहाँ पर जाती थी तो सुषमा मैम का रोज़ाना मेरे पास कॉल आता था कि बेटा फिक्र नहीं करना, हम हैं यहाँ पर, हम लड़ रहे हैं आपके लिए, कुछ नहीं होने देंगे हम आपको।
बिना इस बात को देखे कि हिंदुस्तान पाकिस्तान के बीच में तनाव के क्या रिश्ते हैं, मैं कहना चाहूँगी कि आज अगर उज़मा यहाँ है तो उसमें पाकिस्तान के विदेश मंत्रालय ने भी हमारा बहुत सहयोग किया है, पाकिस्तान के गृह मंत्रालय ने भी हमारा बहुत सहयोग किया है।
Uzma's brother said he was happy that she had returned safely from Islamabad. He also thanked the External Affairs Minister for her help to his sister at a time when relations with Pakistan are shaky.
किसी बात की कोई कमी नहीं छोड़ी, यहाँ से स्पेशल वकील भेजा है, अच्छे से अच्छी जल्दी से जल्दी उन्होंने कार्रवाई करी है। इतनी जल्दी हो जाएगा ये उम्मीद नहीं थी। हमारी यहाँ की गवर्नमेंट ने हमारी पूरी हेल्प करी है, इसका मैं बहुत तहे दिल से धन्यवाद करना चाहता हूँ।
Uzma says she was forced into marriage with Pakistani national Tahir Ali and kept in a remote place called Guner. Uzma revealed that she was always scared and was not treated well. Somehow she reached the Indian High Commission in Islamabad where she found shelter. Thereafter, the Islamabad High Court allowed her return to Delhi.
The type of relationship exists between India and Pakistan. It is very interesting to see that Uzma's return was possible just because of Pakistan government cooperated. It will be interesting to see further that how India-Pakistan goes further relationship given the fact that we are fighting on Kulbhushan Jadhav. Akhilesh Suman for Rajya Sabha Television with camera person DK Pandey in Delhi.
And now an update on the Manchester attack, and 8 people have so far been arrested in connection with the attack that left 22 people dead. Now, various raids and searches continue in various parts of UK as part of the investigation. On Thursday, a large cordon was set up for a time around a location in Vigan area. Meanwhile, more details also emerged on 22-year-old Abedi, who carried out the attack, with the US officials saying that he might have received Islamic State training. As police and investigating agencies dig for details, more info pouring in regarding 22-year-old Manchester suicide bomber Salman Abedi. US investigators have indicated that Abedi might have received some Islamic State training as he had travelled to Syria in the months before the attack. Other members of Abedi's family are believed to have been radicalized as well. 8 people have so far been arrested in connection with the bombing at an Ariana Grande concert that took the lives of at least 22 people, including several children. Investigators are focused on tracking down associates of Abedi, a British-born national of Libyan descent, saying it is clear that they are investigating a network. While the UK and the US are collaborating on intelligence sharing, this was earlier halted after US media published details on the investigation. The leaks outraged British officials and prompted Prime Minister May to take up the matter with Donald Trump during the NATO meet. The diplomatic tiff-off was resolved after an assurance from Trump to get to the bottom of it.
On the issue of the intelligence sharing with the United States of America, we have a special relationship with the USA. It is our deepest defence and security partnership that we have. Of course, that partnership is built on trust, and part of that trust is knowing that intelligence can be shared confidently. And I will be making clear to President Trump today that intelligence that is shared between law enforcement agencies must remain secure.
Meanwhile, police have been assessing potentially suspicious items found at a property in Vigan, about 25 kilometers from the scene of Monday night's attack. A street was evacuated for several hours and a bomb disposal unit called in. The cordon was later lifted and residents allowed to return to their homes. Britain continues to remain on its highest alert level of critical. Armed officers and police sniffer dogs were seen patrolling major transport hubs. Police also sealed off Westminster Bridge in central London next to Parliament on Thursday, following reports of an unattended vehicle.
The police have confirmed that 8 suspects remain in custody and that progress is being made in the case. But the threat level, as assessed by the Independent Joint Terrorism Analysis Centre, will remain at critical, and the public should remain vigilant. I was also briefed on Operation Tempora. Around 1,000 members of the armed forces are assisting the police, providing important reassurance ahead of a bank holiday weekend of busy events.
Meanwhile, identification of the 22 victims continues. As of Thursday afternoon, 18 people who died in the blast had been named. Queen Elizabeth II visited the hospital where some of the wounded are being treated. Manchester hospitals are still treating 75 people in the aftermath of Monday's bombing attack. A minute of silence was held on Thursday morning as the UK continued to come to terms with its worst terror attack since the 2005 London bombings. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. Now, the Group of 7 Leaders Annual Summit will start today with the heads of states and governments expected to discuss key global political and economic issues. And this year's 2-day summit, which is being held in Italy's Sicilian town of Taormina, will discuss state policies meeting the citizens' expectations, as well as issues such as citizens' safety, economic, environmental and social sustainability, and skills and labour. The G7 leaders are also expected to focus on fighting terrorism and Europe's migrant crisis. Other topics on the agenda include Monday's suicide bombing in Manchester and the 6-year-old Syrian conflict, as well as North Korea's nuclear ambitions. Besides the leaders of the world's 7 major industrialized nations, the summit will also be attended by UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, European Council President Donald Tusk, and European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker. And what else is making news across the world? Let's take a look in World Wrap. US President Donald Trump has told his NATO allies in Brussels that all members of the alliance must pay their fair share of defense spending. The alliance later agreed that member states would report back annually on the defense spending to NATO. US media has reported that President Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, a senior White House advisor, is under scrutiny by the Federal Bureau of Investigation in the Russia probe. Reports say that Kushner is being investigated because of his interactions with the Russians, including the Russian ambassador and a banker from Moscow. It is not known whether Kushner has received any requests from the FBI for records. Greece's former Prime Minister Leukos Papademos was injured on Thursday when an explosive device hidden in an envelope detonated inside his car in central Athens. He was taken to a hospital with his driver, who was also hurt. Papademos' injuries are, however, not life-threatening. On to sports now, and the Board of Control for Cricket in India, or the BCCI, has started its hunt to select the new head coach of the senior men's team. Current coach Anil Kumble's term expires after the ICC Champions Trophy in England next month. Kumble, though, will have access to direct entry for the process if he wishes to extend his association with the Indian team. Now, BCCI press release stated that in order to ensure a fair and transparent process, a nominee of the Committee of Advisor Administrators will oversee the entire process along with the Cricket Advisory Committee. The BCCI's 3-member advisory committee will conduct interviews and seek presentations to select the best possible candidate to guide the team and to take Team India forward. Last year, it was the same committee which had appointed Anil Kumble as the head coach ahead of former team director Ravi Shastri, who was also a front-runner for the job. Now, Kumble has been the coach of the Indian team since the West Indies tour last year, and he has seen 5 successive Test series wins as the coach. It was under Kumble's leadership that India also reclaimed the #1 ranking in Test cricket. Now, Indian shuttlers await an uphill task as they will take on China in the quarterfinals of the Sudirman Cup Mixed Teams Badminton Championship in Gold Coast, Australia. After sealing the second spot in the group stages, 9th seed India is now gearing up for an improvised show against a top seed China, which have emerged victorious in 10 out of the 14 previous editions of the tournament. China have a 2-time Olympic champion Lin Dan, as well as the reigning Rio gold medalist Chen Long in their ranks, and it will take a gigantic effort from India to get across them in the men's singles. Among Indians, only K. Srikanth has ever beaten Lin Dan en route to his title triumph at the 2014 China Open, and he will need to be at his best to outdo the Chinese. In the women's singles, Olympic silver medalist PV Sindhu also has a tough task, irrespective of whether she plays world number 7 He Bingjiao or world number 6 Sun Yu, because this is only the second time that India managed to reach the knockout stage following their quarter-final finish at the 2011 edition, where they lost to China 1-3. Well, that's it from me and my team in this edition of Breakfast News. Thanks for watching.